Good morning, Broncos country. Welcome into another episode of GMB, your daily morning Broncos conversation with a cup of coffee. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Cody Roark. I cover the Denver Broncos here daily as a reporter for Mile High Sports. Make sure if you're watching here on Mile High Sports YouTube page, you hit that subscribe button so you get morning conversation about the Denver Broncos. Later on in the evenings, you can check out Ryan Blackburn on Pickaxe and Roll for all your Denver Nuggets conversation. Plus, we have some coverage from the Colorado Rockies by Drew Kreisman and also Arif Dean on the Colorado Avalanche here, Mile High Sports, everything Colorado here. But on today's Good Morning Broncos, one thing we're going to dive deep into is yesterday's recap at the Centura Health Training Center, Tuesday's practice in front of fans as the team put the pads back on once again in preparation for Saturday's preseason showdown against the San Francisco 49ers. First off, before we dive deep into the subject matter, let's take a look at our day 15 of Denver Broncos training camp. Let's take a look at the recap from yesterday's practice before we dive into it even deeper. The Denver Broncos were back at the Centura Health Training Center here on Tuesday for a fully padded practice, and one of the bigger things to keep an eye on here as the Broncos get closer to their second preseason game against the San Francisco 49ers is how much will Javonte Williams play in Saturday's contest. Broncos head coach Sean Payton told us that he's working on a pitch count. He'll see how many reps he wants to get him in for this upcoming week, but tremendous progress when you look in perspective where Javonte was, where the injury happened, and the progress he's made in his recovery. On top of that, there was an injury that did happen in practice during a combo period, some competitive group stuff in the red zone. PJ Locke went down. He was carted off, but Broncos head coach Sean Payton told us after practice that he's expected to be fine. So that is a big sigh of relief as the Broncos are still working Justin Simmons back as he deals with a groin injury. Caden Stearns is working his way back as well, and PJ Locke seems like he's going to be fine. So that is great news, all things considered, as the competition aspect continues to ramp up as Sean Payton wants the younger guys to make a bigger step forward this upcoming week against the San Francisco 49ers. One of the things we did see in the week one of the preseason was the Arizona Cardinals sent a lot of pressure at Russell Wilson in the offense. I asked Sean Payton after practice, how do you simulate that in practice? Do you like putting your guys in positions where they're going to see it? And that's exactly what happened in today's move the ball period. 2 minutes, Denver needing to go down and drive down the field. A lot of pressure on Russell Wilson, but he delivered the ball, got him downfield, got him into field goal range with 4 seconds left. Brett Maher nailed a 59-yard field goal, and he also nailed a 53-yard field goal as well. We'll continue our coverage here at Broncos camp. I'm Cody Roark, Mile High Sports. So overall, in front of the audience, in front of the fans there, the Broncos offense once again putting together a strong practice. And here's the thing. I like this about Sean Payton. Here's what I asked him as well. I asked him, based on Friday in preseason game number 1 against the Cardinals, the offense saw a lot of pressure, a lot of cover zero looks from Jonathan Gannon's defense. How beneficial is it in a practice situation to have those scenarios where the defense is throwing things out you? And obviously at the end of practice, the Broncos were in their move the ball period as what Sean Payton deemed as, hey, we need a field goal here in order to keep the drive alive. That's where you start to see a lot of pressure from the defense. And that's exactly what Vance Joseph, the Broncos defense, did. Granted, no Justin Simmons, no Patrick Surtain participating in that portion, but there was Jonathan Cooper. There was Frank Clark. There was Randy Gregory. There was Jonathan Harris. Other guys getting mixed. Tyler Lancaster at nose tackle. Zach Allen at defensive end. And you also had Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton at the inside linebacker position here. But for them, they was sending pressure to try to get after Russell Wilson, attacking some of the spots where the Cardinals took advantage of them in Friday's preseason loss. And while it is unorthodox to see what the Cardinals did in the preseason, in the regular season, you can almost bank on the fact that Denver is going to see a ton of pressure, a ton of different stunts, and a lot of cover zero looks thrown their way, and they have to be able to pick it up or to give Russell Wilson some time to deliver the football. And that's exactly, we saw that in Tuesday's practice there. And you saw a combination of guys, Cam Fleming, Alex Pocheski getting some reps there at right tackle with Mike McGlinchey still out as he deals and recovers from the knee sprain. We'll see what his timeline looks like after next week here. But overall, the offense had a very sharp day. Once again, Russell Wilson getting the ball out of his hands quickly. And that's, I think, a product of what Sean Payton wants in this offensive scheme. In passing situations, there'll be times where they try to dial something up deep and try to get some play action going. But for the most part, it's we have to move the ball downfield. We need to get the ball out of our hands quickly. When you do things like 5-step drops, it's usually indicative of a deep pass. You do play action, indicative of attacking different levels. You get your short, intermediate, and your deep route concepts that you have there. Payton wants the ball out quick, and I think with Denver's combination of playmakers, Cortland Sutton, Greg Dulcich getting involved in the action, Jerry Jeudy coming up big, you have guys where you can get the ball out quickly to them. And I think that's exactly what we saw a little bit of from Russell Wilson, the offense during Tuesday's practice. And look, on that drive as well, they had to march 75 yards downfield to either score or to get in range for a field goal there. And you saw the Broncos offense face a couple of situations where pressure came. Russ had to throw the football away because you don't want to throw it in harm's way, especially when you have pressure coming at you. But throw it away, live to see another day. That's something that Sean Payton wants in this offense. Look, you could take your shots here and there, but if you give away possession by throwing recklessly into where pressure coverage is coming and you have guys who maybe read it and jump down on a route, I mean, that's a recipe for a disaster. We saw a little bit too much of that last year for the Broncos. Offensive line obviously has to protect better. They have to utilize better leverage, is something that Sean Payton referenced on Monday, where they could be better. But the issues that he said that happen with the protection, they're fixable. They got to go back, and that's exactly what did. Carrying over some of those adjustments there here in practice, and you saw Russell Wilson. Look, there was a third down play. He had to get a couple of yards. He did. It ended up being, I think, 4th and 3. He connected with Greg Dulcich for a first down. Jerry Jeudy caught, I think, a big pass. I think it was on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, and it moved the chains for a first down. Ultimately, Brett Maher came in and he kicked a field goal from 59 yards, made it with some extra room to spare, and it gave the Broncos a win in that period there. And speaking of Brett Maher, you may be wondering, why just Brett Maher? Well, they released Elliott Fry. They waived him with an injured designation as well. So it looks like for now, Brett Maher is the kicker for the Broncos, but Sean Payton didn't hold back on saying that when you look at the overall outlook, 31 other teams, there's still an opportunity for them to look at other kickers. There's room for them to look at maybe some free agents out there. That Brett Maher hasn't simply just won the job outright. He still has to continue to build on it. And I think overall on Tuesday's practice and meaningful periods, he had 2 misses during just the stationary kicks a little bit earlier on in practice. I think one from 45, and then I think one clanked off the upright from 53. But aside from that, he nailed the 53-yarder when the second team had to move the ball downfield. He nailed the 59-yarder that could have been good for maybe 65 when the first team offense had to move the ball downfield and come away with points. The point I'm trying to make here is that nothing is set in stone. Nobody's roster spot outside of a few guys really is solidified here for the Sean Payton-led team going forward here. But Broncos country, we're going to continue our conversation on this morning's Good Morning Broncos. Make sure you pour yourself another cup of coffee or if you're having breakfast right now. But first, a word from our good friends over there at Superbook.
We're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports gambling with a direct line to Las Vegas. And now, when you use the promo code MILEHIGH, you score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code MILEHIGH. Download the Superbook Sports app, enter the promo code MILEHIGh, and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Some other news and notes from the Broncos Tuesday practice at the Centura Health Training Center. Some injuries came up here, and it definitely presents a little bit of question here overall about maybe where some depth is at. The safety position took yet another hit when P.J. Locke went down during the team's competitive period where they're working on red zone coverage combinations and the wide receivers on the offensive side of the ball working on their route concepts that they could use against multiple defenders. And P.J. Locke went down with an apparent lower leg injury, ankle area, foot, something like that. Not going to fully speculate, but that's what was being looked at by trainers. He was carted off. But Broncos head coach Sean Payton told us after practice that he's going to be fine, which is a breath of fresh air if you're a Broncos fan, because Locke has emerged really for that safety 3 position here on the Broncos defense. Not only that, he's your major core 4 special teams player, and there's several guys who fit that mold there as Mike Westhoff wants guys that he can rely on. P.J. Locke has emerged in one of the NFL's better special teams players over the last 3 or 4 seasons, so that's great to have him there. But with the injury there, if he does miss any time, what does the safety room outlook look like right now? And look, Justin Simmons working his way back from the groin injury that he sustained a little bit ago. He's been out there every day at practice. He's doing some things, wrapping things up during the side field periods, but he's also helping out coach when the team periods are going on there. So he's still a valuable asset in that room, but the hope is that he'll be back and ready in time for that week 1 season opener against the Las Vegas Raiders. Tuesday's practice saw no Kareem Jackson as he had a Veterans Day off. Caden Stearns seems to be looking like he's dealing with something, some kind of ailment, not sure what it is, but he was on the side field during Monday's practice, was back for Tuesday's practice in limited capacity, but did not participate in any of the team drills. He continued to get some extra treatment for whatever it is he's dealing with. We'll get a little bit more from Broncos head coach Sean Payton a little bit later on in the week. We'll see if he plays in the preseason. Something to monitor. He did miss last week. He missed, I think it was Wednesday's practice, and then he played in Friday's game. So maybe just some maintenance, some management here. The Broncos want to be smart. He is one of those guys coming off of a major injury last year where he had to have reconstructive hip surgery. Aside from all of that, though, the safety room, when Locke went down and with no Simmons, no Kareem Jackson, no Caden Stearns out there, it went to Delarian Turner-Yale and Devon Key, who have been getting some reps. And it was a little surprising seeing Devon Key ahead of J.L. Skinner, who the Broncos drafted in the 6th round of the 2023 NFL Draft. For me, I think something to keep an eye on if you're a Broncos fan is this guy almost seems like a roster lock now, and that's Asang Bassi. He's a guy who also played some safety during Tuesday's practice, got in with the third-team defense there to assist with that depth there. But we've seen him play at the safety position before in OTAs and minicamp. So not only can he play outside corner, he can play the nickel where he's filling in for K'Wan Williams, but he can also play the safety position while being a core 4 special teams player. Asang Bassi right now on paper looks like an absolute roster lock when you look at positional versatility and maybe the vision, as Sean Payton always uses that word. He's a guy that could do a little bit of everything. He's one guy that could do maybe 3 or 4 people's jobs, not only on defense, but also on special teams. So that right there is a big factor to look at. And that's not an indictment on J.L. Skinner, the Broncos rookie, who did not get the opportunity to get those reps with that unit after P.J. Locke had to exit practice. It just means that maybe he needs some more time, more development. Look, the NFL game, the transition from college to the pros is different. Not everybody's ready to step on right away and play at the speed of the NFL. There's some things that the Broncos want to see J.L. Skinner do a little bit better, get a little bit more refined in terms of technique, understanding angles, special teams play. He'll get there. It's just going to take some time. He's just not ready right now to step into that big of a role. But the hope is by the time maybe midseason comes around, if he's on the active roster with practice, repetition, and being in those position meeting rooms, that he can gain that experience that he does need. And we'll see him play a lot, obviously, I think, in this game on Saturday against the 49ers. We'll also see him play quite a bit in the 3rd and final preseason game against the Los Angeles Rams, where next week joint training camp practices will happen. Get to see our good friend Brett Rippon come back to town here as a member of the LA Rams, and they'll obviously play at Empower Field a Mile High in the Broncos' first preseason game at home, the first of 3 straight games at home, 2 including the regular season there, where they open up against the Raiders and the Washington Commanders. But more importantly, next week, the Broncos will reveal their brand new stadium renovations, over $100 million put into a brand new visual scoreboard, video board, in seating, like the suite upgrades, things like that. I mean, there's a multitude of different things that you'll see different. And I'm excited to be able to see what that is and maybe unveil that here with Broncos country. But the focus right now, Wednesday's practice here for Denver. They'll be back on the field here. Fans will be in attendance here once again. But then they're going to ramp things up a little bit. Thursday might be a little bit more of a lighter walkthrough period as they prepare to travel and then play a game on Saturday evening against the San Francisco 49ers. The one thing I think fans need to keep an eye on here for this week in the build-up process is which guys make their way back. You know, you look at over the side field, you look at guys like Baron Browning, Mike Purcell, they're doing a little bit more each and every day, and I think that's a positive that they can build off of because it's becoming a little bit of crunch time now. You're going to have to make a decision, and obviously there's some rumblings out there that Baron Browning may start the year entirely on the PUP list, may not come off until midway through the regular season, which he could be back hopefully by that Week 6 matchup, kind of similar to what they did with Greg Dulcich. You never want to put a player on injured reserve, even if it's short-term. You can't do that here in the offseason because if you place a player on injured reserve in the offseason, it automatically ends their season entirely. It's a little bit different. So once you get to the regular season, you could place him on short-term IR because he'll be designated to return, kind of what we saw with Greg Dulcich last year. Keep an eye on Baron Browning for that list. Keep an eye on cornerback Riley Moss for that list as well as he works back from core muscle surgery here. But aside from all that, not too much to take out of Broncos practice outside of the fact that, hey, they're trying to get some guys back healthy. The offense is continuing to go through their install period. They're ramping things up. Russell Wilson is looking good. The idea is that you just continue to invest and get better in the protection side of things. Communication on the offensive line is key. And hopefully, hey, the Broncos can make it through the week without another injury happening there. It's unfortunate. It's part of the game, but you need everybody here at this process as you get along toward the regular season. And we'll see if Denver does just that. But Broncos country, thank you so much for tuning into this morning's episode of Good Morning Broncos. We'll be in Dove Valley here to recap all the action, and then we'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of the show. We'll see you then.